Alright, Daytona 500 just concluded yesterday. I watched the last few laps on my iPhone while I was on my 30-minute break, by the way. So, I at least some parts of it here and there when I could, when there's not much to do at work. So yeah, let's go through some of the speed weeks. Speed weeks were all but nothing but cringe, single file cringe train, and before anyone says anything at all, before anyone watches this video and expects me to be the most repentant Jimmy Johnson fan in the world, hey, it was 100% his fault. That was no excuses. The shootout was not exactly his fault, considering it was primarily side draft that played a factor, and his adrenaline rush to a victory when the rain was commencing and emerging onto their positions. So someone had to do something at that race. That was excusable, but Jimmy Johnson blatantly dumping Kyle Busch in the back straightaway was no excuse. However, at least Jimmy Johnson, like the humble man he is, owned up to it and apologized. It wasn't like he was happily going viral at those races just to commence controversy for the sake of causing controversy, or dumping, or trying to be a wannabe Dale Earnhardt, which he's not. He's Jimmy Johnson. He even said himself he's no king or intimidator. He's just some kid from California. But hey, no more about the speed weeks, because all of it was pretty much a single file cringe train. The only person that did shit at all the speed weeks was Joey Logano on the last lap. Even though I don't like Logano, I at least envy him for trying to break the single file cringe fest, those races. And then we go on to trucks, where it was pretty decent the first half of the race, and then it became a madhouse, or a mad track, the second half, when everyone pretty much died. Only 9 cars survived. Only 9. Just 9 fucking cars. Wow. And Austin Hill got his first win out of that. Congrats, Austin Hill. You deserve that. And then nationwide, nothing happened here, so I'm skipping that one. The Cup race, here and there in the first stage, it was decently exciting to watch. Then the last couple of laps on the first stage, it was yet again a single file cringe fest. Highly uninteresting. I saw some of the highlights on Twitter and YouTube, so I know what happened. You don't say, "Oh, you were at work, so your opinion is invalid." Kiss my ass. I'm dedicated enough to see the highlights on various social media accounts, okay? Okay. I'm not that oblivious, you fucking dense morons. Alright, so stage 2 was probably the most exciting out of that race, and how about Matt DiBenedetto leading? How swell was that, ladies and gentlemen? I think that was pretty swell. Of course, Michael McDowell, as always, always finds himself in the top 10 or top 5. He just never manages to get a win. Or at the very least, he always crashes after he gets a good run those races. Sometimes I kind of wish that McDowell would win a race just for the sake of another surprising feel-good story, like Chris Buescher from Pocono in 2016 and David Reagan from 2013 at Talladega. You know, a lot of people are expecting me to be mad that Denny Hamlin won, that he's a Gibbs driver. Well, I'm actually not that mad. No, I'm not mad. I ain't even mad. Denny Hamlin won that for J.D. Gibbs. That was a well-deserved, feel-good win. I actually like it for Denny this time. This is probably the least angry I've been at Denny Hamlin winning. I bet my friend Zach Luck wouldn't have wanted it any other way at all. And I'm pretty happy that he gets to enjoy his driver Denny winning. And how about And sorry to go off topic, but I just have to bring it up since I'm pretty much a hardcore Jimmy Johnson fan. As you already can tell, I'm wearing a shirt of my favorite championship winning moment from 2013. Cody wearing his no-talent ass decides to spin out towards pit road, collecting Jimmy Johnson into his mess, his no-talented mess. And then, for a while, what we thought his day was completely ruined, thus stealing away his chances of winning a race, or at the very least getting a top 10. He actually, as always, like a badass, finishes in the 9th place position. How about that? And not to mention, he avoided every single big one. Or at the very least, he was like a juggernaut in those big wrecks. I can't express how much of a badass Jimmy Johnson is for avoiding those wrecks like a badass. It's like his old self again. Remember the 2012 Kansas race where we all thought he presumably wrecked out of the race, but somehow managed to finish 7th place? That is very reminiscent, right there. And of course, the third to last big one. Oh wait, not third to last big one. Second to last big one. Stenhouse being Stenhouse, thinking that 3 wide was gonna work in a very, very narrow position, and then triggers yet another big mess, like he always does at these super speedways. Is there anything else he's good at besides wrecking the entire field? Oh, for fuck's sake, Stenhouse. You caused, 2 wrecks this race? And 3 in the race I went to, which was the Daytona night race last year. Is there ever a time? When are you not driving like a buffoon that race? Good lord. So overall, while this race here and there had some single file cringe fests, and not a lot of people really did much these races, I would still give it at least a 7 out of 10, because at least some stuff happened here and there. It sucked that Matt DiBenedetto, thanks to Paul Menard's dumbass, had to wreck the entire field. And I'm like, oh, but your man Jimmy Johnson wrecked the entire field at the shootout. Kiss my ass. That wasn't even a points race. And Jimmy Johnson, unlike Menard, was going for a win. For Paul Menard, it was no excuse. But I gotta give props to Paul Menard for at least owning up to it. So, no harm, no foul. Paul Menard, I can see the reason why nobody is throwing their feces at Paul Menard for this big one that he caused is because he doesn't have a big name. He doesn't have 7 championships, 83 wins. Too bad I don't have 7 championships because I won't get as much salt as Jimmy Johnson gets 247,365. If I had championships, the same amount of championships Jimmy Johnson or Tom Brady had, oh boy, I would be enjoying all the piles and piles of salt that I would receive 247,365 from those dense, butthurt fan brats of NASCAR and NFL, if you could even call them fanboys of those sports, which they're not. I want NASCAR to substantiate that this package will be one for the books. I want to be proven wrong. I want to eat my own words with salt. I do. I really do. I really want to be wrong about this package. So NASCAR, please do not sink to the low that we think you're gonna sink, because this package is objectively even lower than 2018. maybe lower than 2015, the two worst NASCAR seasons ever. Yes, even lower than 2008 and 9. But if you thought the COT era was the worst era for NASCAR, this in no time may even take the throne. 2019 in no time may seize the throne. So yeah, congrats to Denny Hamlin on winning that race to conclude this review of mine. It was a bit too many single file cringe fests here and there, but at least people were trying to do shit, and people were actually going for the lead in those closing laps there, especially when there were a lot of big ones. A lot of people doing desperate things to try and get that win. Unfortunately, Martin Truex Jr. wasn't there to make it Joe Gibbs Racing sweep the top 4 for JD Gibbs. This is the only time I'm ever happy for a Joe Gibbs victory like this, because this really is a feel-good story for JD Gibbs. JD Gibbs is having a ball in the afterlife realm right now. I don't really believe in heaven or hell, of course, you guys already knew this, but if there is an afterlife, oh man, I wish they had a camera that would monitor the afterlife realm, showing how hardcore JD Gibbs is having that ball. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because this is one of the only times I am ever gonna praise Denny Hamlin for winning. I'm just glad it wasn't Kyle Busch. Sorry if I sound insensitive, but I just cannot stand him at all. I have seething hatred towards him. But yeah, on to Atlanta and all the other copies and pastes of Kentucky, aside from the 1 mile tracks and short tracks and road courses. If NASCAR could at least substantiate that this package is not as bad as we really think it is. Take care of yourselves, people, and have a nice day. Space out.